What up, though, y'all? It's Chris. Appreciate you connecting with me while I'm out here still stepping. 10,000 steps. It ain't over till it's over. 10,000 steps must be completed a single day. And I don't go in until they done. At least not to retire for the day anyway. But, I came across some interesting information. I came across a speech Biden was given. And, Biden, he kind of been on the chill ever since he stepped down and basically gave Kamala the nod that she's going to be the one running, not him. He's been kind of, he been kind of chill. I mean, he got seen out, talking to some folks. He was at a meeting. That was when he put on the Trump 2024 hat, which people loved. Really, people loved that. If he were still running, obviously, he never would have did that. But since Kamala's running, not him. And I think he probably still is a little bit sour about how they ended up doing him in the end. He put it on and, just had a kind of a ha-ha moment with it. But he was speaking and he was basically asked about, the sort of decision-making powers that Kamala had in comparison to him. There's spider webs out here everywhere. And he essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, because you can look for this clip if you like. It's on YouTube. It's very easy to find. All the stuff is always easy to find because, the news outlets always pick it up. But if you want to look for it, don't take my word for it. By all means, check it out for yourself. But he basically said that Kamala had the same decision-making powers as him. That essentially there is nothing that he could do that she couldn't do. Now, obviously, he's the president, so he probably is going to get final say on everything. But he did make it pretty known that she was not operating with her hands tied behind her back. It's not like there was anything that was happening that she was dragged, kicking and screaming along for that she did not agree with. That was very important. And I'm glad that he said that, because a lot of people who defend Kamala, they try to make it seem like all of the bad things that have happened over the last going on 4 years that she really played no part in because she's just the VP. And, we hearing from the horse's mouth, that's just simply not true. She's just as accountable as he is. So I found it to be very interesting how all of the bad things that have been happening, these folks went from defending those things, making it seem like nothing was wrong at all, to now saying, oh, Kamala had no decision-making power with that. Okay, so now you're indirectly admitting that things weren't as great as you were trying to make it seem, because now you're trying to separate Kamala from these problems and make it seem like she was just some innocent party. So you can't try to separate her from them. You can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh, things were fine, things were great, there was nothing wrong, you guys are just this or that, you guys are just over exaggerating, to now you skip forward to October and you're trying to distance her from those things. So you're acknowledging that these were problems before and you were just pretending like they weren't. So there you have it. Kamala has been along for the ride as a participant, not as any sort of prisoner, if you will. She's not been dragged kicking and screaming along. She's not innocent in any way, shape, or form. Whatever Biden was doing, it seems like she was just on board with. And Byron Donalds, brother, he was on The Breakfast Club recently, and he basically torched them with nothing but facts. This is what happens when you have people that don't know what they're talking about at all, trying to have a debate with someone who does know what the hell they're talking about. And the reason why he knows what he's talking about is because he's actually there. They're on a radio show gossiping about this and that and reacting to sound bites, and he's actually there. So when he was talking about inflation, basically blaming Kamala for this, they want to know, well, how is this Kamala's fault when she's the VP? So again, you see what I'm saying about the people who defend her, trying to isolate her from failures. But notice how when there's anything great that happens, they want to include her in it or just outright give her the credit for it, period, like solo. So anything good that happens, because we're not going to pretend like nothing good ever happened. It was few and far in between, but we won't pretend like nothing good ever happened. But when something good would happen, Kamala would either get equal credit or they try to just give Kamala solo credit for it. But any of the failures, oh, she's just the VP. You don't understand. She's just the VP. It's on Biden. No, you can't have it both ways. But he came with receipts. He was fully prepared because he knew that it was going to be a away game, that it was very possibly going to be a 3-on-1, and he was prepared. It really didn't end up being a 3-on-1 because Envy and Charlemagne were mostly quiet. It was some woman on there who was doing all this, combativeness. And, I love my sisters, but why is it always a sister that has to do all the battling? The brothers that were there, well, Envy, I guess he can be an honorary brother. He's of Hispanic origins, so, depending on who you talk to, black and brown, we get along, we kinfolk. Some don't agree, but some do. But I digress. You got Envy and you got Charlemagne. They're there, they're calm, they're composed. They were asking questions here and there, but they weren't attacking. They weren't overly aggressive. They were, especially Charlemagne, some little quips here and there, but they weren't his usual, kind of leaning on the edge of disrespect quips. It just was kind of him, just kind of being him or whatever. And so that's cool. I have no issue with that. Byron Donalds handed him some sort of paper showing him some sort of receipt of something. I have no idea what was on that paper, but Charlemagne said nothing else after that. And the thing that he ended up, well, he still didn't shut the woman up, because, of course, she just has to be right. So even though she has no idea what she's talking about compared to him because he's the one actually there in the voting room, she wants to still argue. And I find that to be very fascinating because it seems like only sisters will do that. And only sisters will do that with black men. Sisters that have no idea what they are talking about at all will sit up and argue with a man that is an expert on the topic if that man is black. If he is a white man, she will shut her mouth and she will listen. If it is a black man, it's like he cannot teach her anything. So here you have a black woman that can't shut up long enough for him to say what he needs to say and maybe possibly teach her something. But he ended up dropping the bombshell that the anti-inflation bill, which would have been responsible for keeping things from happening that have happened, he said Kamala was the deciding vote. She was the deciding vote. He said when it came time for this, he said, if we do not do this, it is going to lead to massive inflation in the future. They didn't go the way that they should have went. Kamala was the deciding vote on that. And you could tell that this was just blowing her mind. She had no idea what she was talking about because oftentimes the women like her don't. They're just talking out of their ass. They're saying a bunch of stuff fueled with emotion rather than fact. And when they're confronted with a person that actually knows the facts, in his case, actually someone that's there, how are you going to try to argue back and forth facts with somebody that was actually there based on some sound bites you done heard on Facebook, some post you didn't read on Facebook, some opinion piece you didn't listen to on YouTube? You're going to try to argue a man that was literally in the room. Like, you would know what you're talking about better than he would. It's just insane. But there you have it. The inflation that we are experiencing at the rate that we're experiencing at, it was seen to possibly be a problem some time ago. And when it came time to vote for keeping the inflation at bay, Kamala voted to let the inflation happen. And you skip forward to now, and that's where we're at. So Byron Donalds, he also mentioned a point that I thought was very profound. And he asked Envy, he just was like, you know, I watch you guys. I know that you're in the real estate. He's like, what if someone went into your properties and just started destroying stuff? Would you then hire that person to do the repairs? And Envy was like, no. And that was a very good point. Why hire the person to fix the problems that they created? Kamala keeps talking about, oh, if you vote for me, I'll do this, I'll do that. You've been in office all this time. What stopped you from doing these things? You could have done these things now. You're still in office. You're still talking about like you ain't in office now. So why vote for the person who was part of the problem? I find it to be insane to take the person who was part of the problem in the current administration and then promote them. Oh boy. If Kamala wins, we truly get what we get, because it is more than enough proof out there of what we would be in store for if she were to be president. We've already gotten a sample size of her being part of the current administration. Remember, y'all, I voted Biden. I voted mostly Democrat. And actually, not no mostly. I always voted Democrat before now. Obviously I'm not voting Democrat this time around. I always voted Democrat before. It's this administration that flipped me. Things have been so disastrous under the Biden-Harris administration. They have flipped me. They have made me conservative. I want y'all to hear that. I, a black man in the city of Detroit. This is a city that, you know, for the most part has been pretty liberal. That's not the case anymore, man. There's many other people like me. More black men. I mean, think about this. Never before in history have you ever heard of more black men flipping and becoming more conservative than you have now. That should tell you something. As I said before, I voted for Obama twice. I voted for Biden. I am not voting for Kamala. This current administration has burned all of us. They have flipped me. So it's not like I've always voted Republican, because, you know, people say that, oh, well, you're this, you're that, you know, you're you know, a coon or whatever, you know, just all of the silly stuff. I'm so glad that I broke free from that thinking when I stopped and started looking at what's happening instead of just what I've been told. People will call you a sellout, a sucker, a coon, and all that sort of stuff when you start thinking independently and you start doing things in your own interest instead of just going along with what you've been told to do. Pay attention to that. If you don't believe me, start paying attention. Start independent thinking instead of following the hive mind. And for those of you that already are thinking independently, tell me in the comments, do you not oftentimes get shamed for not going along with the popular opinion? You know, for having your own thoughts, your own views and opinions on things rather than just going along with what you're being told? Do you not get attacked for that? The very people who claim to be against bullying have no problem employing that very tactic when it's befitting to them. So I'm gonna leave it there. I appreciate y'all connecting with me. I'm gonna get back to doing these steps around here. I'm at the park. I'm gonna go over there and do some pull-ups on that bar while I'm over here and then keep stepping. Thumbs up this video, y'all. I'll holler at y'all. Peace.